Greetings. Thank you for joining us on our podcast, Don't Chew With Your Mouth Open. For those of us who've been following us, thank you for being part of our channel. For those of you who are here the first time, hopefully we can help you do better and get better at social mobility and financial management. Now imagine this scenario. You are sitting in your home and you get a call, a devastating call. A loved one has passed away. Someone you really loved, someone you cared about. So you communicate with the people you live with that you have to drive to your rural home or to wherever it is people are gathering. And you pack up your family, you pack up your friends, you pack up your close family members, and you drive to this place. You get there and the conversations begin. There's no will, there's no life policy, there's no burial plans, and everybody's looking at you. You are the individual who's gotten educated, supported by the community or by your family, has got a good job, and now the burden of this event lays on your hands. What are you going to do? How do you manage that? Let's chat through that. Welcome to our episode of our podcast, Don't Chew With Your Mouth Open, where we'll discuss business, economics, finance, investments, and wealth creation for the global south. First and foremost, the moment emotion is involved with money, it becomes very difficult to make the right decisions. The person who you're talking about you love, and the person who is being discussed you love. So the first thing to do in this scenario is resolve matters before the crisis. Make sure that the family members you love who need your support are covered by a funeral policy. Funeral policies enable you to make sure that the cost of the burial is not borne by you at the time of passing. The second thing to ensure is a future policy. Life policies, education policies, these ensure that family members who are left or remain will have enough resources to sustain themselves from the passing of the loved ones. It's very difficult to provide large sums of money for crisis or difficult events when they're required. A planned approach is often best. But you could say, tell me, how do I plan for something that's a crisis? Well, you can plan for it by insurance. Insurance products, as I've spoken now, life policies, funeral covers, they ensure that when the difficult period comes, the family is focused on the emotion of grieving the lost relative, of managing family members, rather than the economics. Most of us, or a lot of us, have been in situations where there's been a crisis, and doesn't necessarily mean it's someone passing away. A crisis could be school fees are needed because a family has mismanaged their funds. It could be that an emergency has occurred in some medical space or another, and large sums of money are needed. How to protect yourself against these things? What we have done as a family is we've included certain people on our policies, under our medical aid, to make sure that the funeral service the funeral cover we have covers as many of our family members who are incapable of looking after themselves at this point, to ensure that on the day we are well protected. We don't have to make difficult financial decisions which have tremendous emotional ramifications. Families have been in dispute over how relatives were treated when they were sick, when they were buried, when they were in difficult circumstances. The next thing to do is ensure that all family members have a will. You don't need to know the contents of that will, but organize that each family member meets with somebody who can build a will for them, who can ensure that their assets, no matter how big or small they are distributed according to their desires. That quickly eliminates any form of tension in a family and enables the discussions again to revolve around the grieving rather than the cost and the gains of the person. Now, we often don't talk about how difficult this is. It's very difficult to sit down with your mother and walk her through the decisions she's making with her money. It's very difficult to sit down with your younger sibling or older sibling and discuss how they are constantly needing money from you to manage their family. It's very hard to look at life through the lens of other people. However, if you are in the position of being the breadwinner or the one in the family who has some form of financial stability, the decisions will fall on you. That conflict sometimes even ruins marriages. The conflict between supporting yourself and supporting your family members. And your spouse begins to challenge why you're prioritizing your family members over the home that you're building. These difficult conversations all can be dealt with if you plan for them up front. A simple example, we have a principle in our home where my family members can only talk to my wife if they need income or some form of support, and her family members can only talk to me. What that does is ensures that it takes away the emotional leverage our family members have on us to drive a unsound economic decision. We can also put other systems in place, and you can put systems in place that work for you and your home, work for you and your family. That system works for us. It helps us make sure that we don't make decisions that have long-term impacts on our family. I hope that as we talk through, you are offended and not offended at the same time. You're offended because you're thinking, how can I not support my own family members? And you're not offended because you realize you have a limited set of resources. And that is actually the key comment, that there is always going to be infinite wants, but there's going to be finite resources. Given that, we then have to make choices. And the choices we have to make has to be sustainable. You are not a bank. As much as we would like to be that wealthy, you can't fund everything all the time. So the best way is to begin to address these situations up front. I have a colleague who runs a business, and what he does in that business is he employs his family members. He makes sure they work and have enough money to sustain themselves. Rather than providing them with income directly, he finds ways through his colleagues as an entrepreneur and through his business to ensure that his family members have work. Once they're employed, it's on their character to maintain the job. I have another friend of mine who used to support 3 nieces. And he used to say to them, I'm going to give you this money on condition you complete school and you don't have children outside of wedlock. Today, he no longer supports the family because those 3 nieces have multiple children and didn't complete school. So he created a framework. He created a framework that ensured sustainability for them, and they broke that framework, and he then no longer supports his family. He often shares about how difficult it is to not support them, but he shares that if he had continued progressing in that way, he would have never been able to sustain the growing mouths that need to be fed. So it's hard. It's very hard to make these difficult decisions. It's very hard to comprehend what needs to be done, but you need to build the system beforehand, a system that is designed to ensure that when a circumstance happens, a family member needs support, you can make non-emotional decisions, and that your emotions and your relationship cannot be leveraged, but rather you make sound decisions for your future and for theirs. We tend to find that in our business, if money is continuously given in support of especially family members, they tend to stop looking for work. They tend to stop driving in their own ambitions to try and get themselves out of that situation. Why? Because they are being subsidized by you. That's hard. It's hard to be that person who's subsidizing other people's children at the expense of your own. So, design the framework up front. Don't wait for the circumstance to arrive. Commit to supporting certain family members on the basis of a defined time frame. I have a friend of mine who has adopted his 2 nieces. His brother passed away, so he took them on as part of his life. He pays for school fees, he supports them, and ensures they're safe. It's within his budget, and his wife is on board with it. That is sustainable. As the ladies grow, they will go to university. They are currently in high school now. They will go to university and be able to sustain themselves. He's done his bit within a framework and a system he comprehends, can afford, can understand, and it's outside of his emotion. Are we saying don't help family members? No. What we're saying is design a framework and a system that is sustainable for you and your household. I know this is going to cause some tension, and I look forward to your responses. And I hope to hear what you have to say on this particular topic. We can delve more into it over in other episodes, the impacts of black tax, the impact of poverty on a population or a people group, the impact of large families which are living below the poverty line, the impact of access to quality education that enables families to free themselves from that trap. All those issues are hard and difficult, and we will address them as we go forward. But as we strive for wealth creation and social mobility, we must always understand that systems will always beat emotions. What is made will always beat what is given. If you have a talent in a sport and you are great at it, that talent has been given to you. But if you don't build on that talent and you don't make yourself into a great athlete, what is made will always beat what is given. So always focus on building the systems and making the environment that allows you and your family holistically to thrive, rather than leveraging off the emotions, the earnings, and the perceptions your family has of you and your income. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope to see you next time. Cheers.